Okay. Woo!
Hi, everybody. It's Keeping It Casual, Samantha.
And I'm the artsy one that falls in love with the jock, Mason.
And you know it's good when you hear
Raikon Topani. Ooh, we are in Japan today.
Yes.
We watched The Man Who Defies the World of BL, I think is the English translation.
Yeah, A Man Who Defies the BL World, I think.
So, you will see it in the title. I'll put it there.
Don't listen to us. Look at the title.
Yeah.
Yes. This is a Japanese, I guess maybe a web series that is on Viki. So for those of you who are from the United States who have access to the website Viki, you can watch it there. It's a really quick watch. It's 4 Viki episodes, probably 7 web series episodes altogether, and it's honestly less than an hour and a half. You can sit through it like this.
Oh yeah, it's pretty quick.
Yeah. So Mason, quick synopsis.
This is a super bare bones story. It is a guy, he literally has no name. He basically realizes he lives in a world of BL manga and how he just feels like he's one of the mob, a background character, and how he really doesn't want to fall in love with a man, so he tries to avoid all BL tropes at all costs.
Yeah, pretty much that's it. And I enjoyed this show. I know that Mason, you kind of had a different take on things, but I thought the show was hilarious.
I thought it was fun. I have a very complex feelings about this experience.
So I really enjoyed this because I don't watch a lot of Japanese live action BL stuff. And the stuff that we've watched, we have done reviews for 3. We did Cherry Magic, we did The Novelist, we did the sequel to The Novelist. I think we did those all in one episode. We did the blind kids show where the one guy's losing his eyesight or his hearing. What is it?
Hearing. Yeah, I can see the sunspots. Yes,
there you go.
Yeah. Walk the Line.
Yeah, we did Walk the Line, Life on the Line. So we've done a few Japanese shows.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we've never done one quite like this one. So it was an interesting experience because even though Cherry Magic is very much kind of a comedic show, which is different than some of the more serious stuff that we've been looking at, which has all been based on manga, which also that's another conversation.
Mm-hmm.
This show feels like this was a lot more played for laughs.
Yes.
Which was a different experience than the other shows that we were watching. Because even though Cherry Magic has funny moments, it doesn't feel like it's played for laughs. It feels like it's very much more a rom-com, whereas this felt like this was a comedy that had a serious ending.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, where do we even start? Because I think my problem with the show is it's just sort of nothing really happens. This could have been 40 minutes. It could have been 40 to 30 minutes.
I like this kind of show, but also this kind of show falls in line with a style of show that I really enjoy that is a kind of older style of show. So when I think of this show and I think of the kinds of shows that I would put it kind of close to, I'm thinking of the Thai show that we watched with the group of gay men and the one lesbian lady.
Okay, so it's like a slice of life comedy.
Yes, where it's like it's a bunch of little episodic vignette type things. So like there's no big overall story. It's like you have a thin framework and episodes kind of are hanging off of that framework. But it doesn't have a bigger story to tell. And so like Sex and the City is kind of like that. You know, these shows that like there might be a through line that the main character is experiencing, but for the most part, we're here for all the vignettes in between.
Right. And I like a lot of slice of life shows like that. I think that's actually one thing I was thinking about watching this is I was like, this reminds me a little bit of Lucky Star. And I wish this show was animated because I think it would have been funnier.
Yeah, it very much, whoever decided to take this from the manga to the screen, tried to keep a lot of elements of the anime. Even like there were narration bubbles at the end of the different vignettes. So they really did try to keep it very close. And I think probably if it had been an animation instead of live action, you would have had more extreme like facial movements and body movements and that kind of thing.
And I think that we were missing that. But this was live action. And I will say the lead actor did a great job doing all of that and holding the whole show together. He was very good.
Yes, I liked him a lot. I liked the way that he was the cartoon in the midst of all these other like real people.
Right.
Because when you think about the idea of this show, it actually kind of fits. So like if you're watching this as an anime and the anime character is saying, I live in a BL, then it might be like, oh yeah, well, you know, this is a cartoon. But if you have a live action person saying, I'm living in a cartoon, but he's the only person who's acting like a cartoon character, that's kind of funny. It's a little, it's a little tongue in cheek. So
it's fun,
so I can see why they did it that way. But yeah, his reactions to everything are like way overblown. Like he's a cartoon character.
Right.
Yeah. Meanwhile, everyone else is just like playing it for serious. And maybe that's the reason why there's a bit of a disconnect, because there's no one else in the show who kind of is that same character except for one other person. And that person feels very unresolved. At the end of this show, they say there's going to be a second season, and I'm expecting this other person to be the main focus of the second season. There's a character on the show who writes BL.
Yeah.
And they introduce him, and some kind of like headless narrator talks to him. And then he shows up at the end of the very last episode, but we don't really get enough information for us to know why it is that he kind of is being let into all these BL happenings, and why the like overhead narrator talked to him when initially he indicated that he wishes he lived in a BL world. But he's in the same world as our main character who acknowledges he lives in a BL world.
And if he's so into BL and wants to draw it, and he knows that he now lives in a BL world, why hasn't he tried to have his own meet cute?
Yeah, so like I'm assuming that maybe more will come out in second season, but that was the only part that felt kind of inconsistent. Also, like I would love to know like who else in this world is a mob character who's like, I know I'm a side character.
The parents. I loved how they did the parents in this show. They were literally just in the background. They had like very few lines. In fact, like, the dad's one of the dad's few lines was he was just like, son, I'm so proud of you. And then he walks away. The main character doesn't even say anything back. He's just like looking at the newspaper. It's very untalented.
I love that because like honestly, when you're reading manga, no one gives a fuck about the faceless people in the background.
Right? Especially when it's like a teen drama or like a college thing. It's like, who the fuck's paying attention to the parents?
Yeah. So like, it's like, we're here to put dinner on the table and we're here to sit at the table and eat while other people are eating. That's our role.
Right. While our sons talk about their boyfriends.
And we have no reaction at all.
Right.
So I don't know. I thought that there were a couple of reasons why I could see why you'd want to adapt this into live action, because it would kind of more exaggerate the point of the manga or the manhwa or the manga. But yeah, that I found was really, really funny. So I want to talk real quick about the tropes, because the only way you can make something like this successful is if you really are aware of a lot of the tropes that go on in BL manga. And especially like in Japan, there are some like really solid, tried and true tropes that if you spend any time reading manga, you're never going to get away from them. And one of the ones that I hollered when he said it, there was a character who was in the lunchroom and was about to trip over a chair, and another character catches them. And the character who catches them goes to sit at the lunch table and like, has he always been that skinny? Look at him with his neck just defenseless. And the main character says, most people have their necks exposed. What's so defenseless about that? And I'm like, you're right. What are you talking about vampire talking about your defenseless neck?
See, that's what I want to see. Season 2, he's a vampire secretly.
But yeah, it was like stuff like that, like the way that characters talk about each other in BLs. This show was very kind of like, isn't that bizarre
Yeah.
that people talk about each other this way? And I'm like, too right. So there are a few different observations that I just wanted to like talk about real briefly, and just talk about how, like, if you decide after watching a show like this that you would be interested in BL manga, not shows, manga, look out for these tropes. So one of them really is the kind of girlification of boys. That is massive in all kinds of BLs. It's not even just in this show. It is like BL across the board. A lot of times, in order to kind of make these shows as heteronormative as possible, you have one character who looks at the other character and is constantly pointing out what attributes of that character they see as feminine.
Yes.
Yes, and it's bizarre because yeah, because the things that they say, again, things like look at your defenseless neck, just don't make any fucking
It's very like, oh, the bottom is always delicate and weak and submissive, and it's like, maybe we should not do these all the time, but it's interesting that they pointed them out, you know?
Yeah, like I guess they had a dinner at some restaurant, and the one guy's like, oh, what girls are you trying to date? I'm not dating any girls right now. Yeah, what about this one kid in our class? I would date him because he's soft like a girl. And so, you know, it's funny, but it's also kind of like weird that is a huge part of a lot of manga that you're going to read and watch. Another thing that I thought was a very interesting observation, and it was interesting to me because honestly, I don't have an eye for comic books. Like, for some reason, I have a hard time seeing faces in comic books. I don't know I can't describe what the problem is, but like, there was mention about how the hot top and the plain bottom, which a lot of times when these characters are drawn, to me, I can never say like, oh, this character looks hot compared to this character. To me, they kind of all look the same, except for one's got blonde hair, one's got black hair, one's got a ponytail, one's got short hair. Like, that's kind of how it looks to me. I can't really look at a manga and be like, that's a hot character. But it was something that they brought up a lot, and it really made me think of like all of the mangas I've read where like it'll be not only like a character that other characters call plain, but also like a stupid character, like a character who's dumb, a character who's like a failure in life, a character who has a hard time reading the room, like just an idiot character. And how somehow or another people build whole worlds of manga around this super intelligent, super handsome, super wealthy guy who falls for the bumbling poor idiot.
I mean, to be fair, that's very common in Western media as well, specifically YA novels. I mean, think about Twilight. The hot rich guy falls in love with the boring girl. Like, that's every YA novel too. It's a very common trope. I think people do it because they like to fantasize because they think that they're the boring person. And that's why that's always the lead-in character is like, oh, you're just a normal person reading this. Maybe you'll find a hot rich guy too.
See, and this is where it's great that we are different people, because a lot of Western media is centered around whiteness. And so there is something to fantasize about a mediocre person being drugged out of mediocrity by kind of a fairy godmother or a Prince Charming type of character. But in the community spaces that I occupy, especially like in the Black community and stuff like that, that fairy tale doesn't necessarily exist in the same way, because in order to be kind of brought out of poverty by a Prince Charming or a fairy godmother, you have to have something excellent about you. Like, if you're a girl who's going to attract a rich guy, it's assumed it's because you're gorgeous. And that's what entitles you to be pulled out of obscurity. Or if you have a fairy godmother or a sponsorship of some sort, it's because you're like super high intellect and somebody recognized that and gave you another opportunity. So I always find it really weird when you're in a culture that's more, I guess, homogenous, that they have fantasies where a plain person becomes the object of affection of an extraordinary person.
Right.
And that they don't offer anything of their own to the relationship that makes them valuable.
Right.
So interesting. I just never, I remember being like a little kid watching Cinderella and telling myself, like, this is not real. This could never happen.
I mean, I think, okay, this is just like a side tangent of just like criticism involving fairy tale media. No one ever said that they were real. I don't know why people ever were like, well, Cinderella teaches X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, it's literally a fairy tale. Like, that shit's made up. It's not that deep. It's a Disney movie.
I
get what you're saying. I'm just like, yeah, of course it's not real.
Well, I will say this. I don't think that a person who is of majority, especially like, you know, really grown up, looks at that stuff and is like, this is real. I think what it is that just like when we were talking about BL in Thailand and BL across the world, and the way that they portray gay people as being kind of, if somebody doesn't have exposure to this community, this is the impression they get of how these types of relationships should work.
Right.
Younger children, especially young girls, they get force-fed this idea of femininity based on toys and baby dolls and that kind of stuff. And so even though as they get older, they'll realize fairy tales aren't true, when you show a young girl child the over and over again, the fantasy of some man coming and sweeping you off of your feet, you're almost telling that girl, like, nothing you're ever going to do in your life is as important as finding a man to rescue you. Or being a part of a man's world. And I think that's the thing. It's not necessarily saying that when you look at a fairy tale, oh yeah, that's how the world works. It's more like saying to yourself, you can rely on something of this sort or some variation of this to happen to you. Like at some point or another, you are going to be brought out of your normal life by a man to live your real life. And I don't know, being African-American and growing up with a lot of people who also came from single parent or divorced parent homes, that just, there is no happily ever after you get married. Like that just isn't really a thing that we rely on. And so, yeah, it's just, it's a lot of times when I see that particular relationship fairy tale, I'm like, yeah, I don't know what that's like. Don't know anybody living that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't either. But I guess, I don't know. I guess I always viewed them very differently, honestly, due to just male privilege. Like I love Disney princess movies. I really, really do. I have always loved Disney princess movies. My favorite characters were always the girls. And I always wanted the girl toys. I always wanted to draw. One of the reasons I started drawing is because I just love drawing the Disney princesses. I drew Maleficent. I mean, she's not a princess, but I would draw Maleficent. I would draw Aurora. I had the How to Draw books. Like, I just wanted to draw the pretty girls and be like, oh, they were cool. And I always thought, like, I liked Ariel. I always thought she was a very intriguing character. I thought she was very proactive. Same with Cinderella. I always had like a different connection with her. But that comes from, I didn't feel like I was being told that I was going to be rescued by a prince one day, because I was on the other end. I was a male. I was the prince, you know? And I didn't feel like I was going to ever save a hot lady one day. But interesting. Yeah, just different backgrounds.
Yeah, so that's why it's always fun to do this show, because we get to experience a world outside of our own. But that actually made me think of something else that was on my mind when you were saying about kind of how you view it from a man's point of view. So one thing that they didn't say on this show, but I thought really was kind of unspoken, is that the character who is the mob, who's talking about like all these tropes and stuff, he really does approach the situations as being ridiculous, and how you have to kind of like game the system to get out of these situations. And if you make a certain decision, you can get out of it. And him seeing the situations as ridiculous made me think of the fact that for a long time, these stories were written to appease a straight girl fan audience.
Mm-hmm.
And he even says, like, there's a term in Japanese for these rotten girls,
Yeah.
and there's
Fujoshi.
even a smaller subsegment of these rotten boys. So, with that in mind, a lot of the cringy tropes that we're seeing that we're like, oh, this is weird. Why is this like this? Why are you trying to make it more heteronormative? Why are you trying to feminize these boys? Why are you picking these kind
Mm-hmm.
of like plain boy characters to be swept up by these handsome, super rich men?
Mm-hmm.
If you take that and you put a mirror in front of it and you say, let's make this a straight relationship, it really is just somebody taking the straight girl fiction playbook
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
making them boys. And so I thought it was really cool that you said that, like, maybe I'm seeing it different from a male perspective. But yeah, like, this show more than anything to me really kind of critiques that straight
Mm-hmm.
perspective on BL.
It does, yeah. I mean, even with like Ayano's boyfriend Tojo, his whole thing is like he's the princely type. He's got blonde hair. He looks perfect. Everyone thinks he's gorgeous, you know? He's kind. He sweeps you off your feet.
Mm-hmm.
And like a lot of the you're right, a lot of the ways people get into relationships is one saves the other. Like the goth kid was saved by the other kid didn't really have a strict personality, just like outgoing kid,
Yeah.
like was like, oh, you're too drunk to walk home, I'll walk you back home. Like he saved him. Or like when he saw them, or when the protagonist saw just a man passed out on the street and he's like, nope, not today, I ain't doing this. And even in his own relationship, the reason he got into a relationship at the end is because Kikuchi was like, yeah, you like did a nice thing for me on a day where I was really, really sad. Like my boyfriend dumped me and my hamster died. So, and you did like a very small, nice gesture, and and you saved me, so I like you now, you know?
Yeah. And it's just like, one, are people super mean in Japan where one act of kindness can cause you to have like a crazy crush on someone?
Right? I was like, that wasn't, I mean, that was nice, but it wasn't like that nice. It was
Yeah,
just
it's like,
a kind gesture.
yeah, here's how to use the copier. You're welcome.
Yeah,
So,
press a button. Like, thanks.
and what's funny too is because the main character, by this guy pressing the button on the copier, all of a sudden he starts to change his mind about falling in love with the boy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, what the hell?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just things like that. Like, that's why for me this show is good, because it's a fun discussion and it does make you kind of re-examine other media. And I think that's one of the things that I enjoy, is media that causes you to question other media.
That's
Not necessarily,
true.
yeah, so it doesn't have to be negative or positive, but if it does make you think about, like, what have I been seeing? What is like so stereotypical about all this stuff? That's
Right.
a fun thought exercise.
Right. This show is just like, as a whole, I think it's better to talk about this show because when I was watching it, I just kept thinking like, I don't hate this. I enjoyed my watch. I thought it was perfectly enjoyable. And I'd recommend someone watch it. It was fun. It was a good hour and a half. But I was
Yeah.
like, what do I gain out of this? You know? Like, why
Mhm.
was this made? Because I was just watching it like, no character has any motivation. It feels like manifest destiny, but like I feel like this show poses a lot of very interesting questions and then never answers them. Like I just have so many questions about this world, but at the end of the day, it's just kind of nothing. It's just I'm trapped in a world of BL. Oh no, now I found my meet cute. And it's like, then it ends. And you're like, oh, okay. Well, why was he so adamant about not wanting to fall in love with a man? Was it homophobia? Was he like, no, I'm gonna choose my own destiny? Like there's multiple ways to answer that question and they never answered it. Like,
Like
what was it?
most manga.
What do you mean?
Like, that's the thing. Like, when you see one of these mangas where like this random character falls for another character for nothing more than like, I was drunk and you kept me from being like laying in the street,
Sure.
there's no motivation for like head over heels falling in love immediately. It just happens. And
Sure.
so
But
I think,
my question is, why does he not want to fall in love? Like everyone around him is very happy. And he's like, no, it almost at times I was like, is this homophobic at times? Maybe that's a bad reading of it. But I was like, why are you so adamant about you not being in a gay relationship? Like he was very
I thought
adamant
it was
about it.
because he was being contrarian. Because even when he talked about wanting to have a girlfriend, he was like, I want a girlfriend so I don't have to date a boy. Like that was his only thing. He
Right.
didn't care about any of the girls. He didn't try hard to get a girlfriend. Like he really could care less about the women in the show. He was just like, I live in a BL world. I'm a contrarian, so I'm going to do the opposite of what this world is trying to force me to be. But I thought that was also like, again, a really smart critique of BLs, because in a lot of these BLs, there's so much kind of like misunderstandings or like a lot of tension and angst for no reason. Like there's so many BLs where it's just like, why are you mad that this rich man wants to give you money and pay your debts?
Right. A lot of so many BLs are just like, could y'all just have a conversation? Could you just call them and like talk on the FaceTime, anything?
Yeah, like why don't you want to be happy? What's wrong with you?
But see, why doesn't he want to be happy? He didn't want to be happy. I didn't get it.
Yeah.
I just have questions about the show. I also went into the show. I think part of the reason the show didn't work for me on the first watch, and I do think it's worthy of a rewatch now that we're talking about it, is honestly, I didn't know what to expect. So of course, my head is like, I'm like, okay, what are character motivations? When is something gonna happen? Like, what is this universe? I just had questions about the world that they inhabited. And then like partway through episode 3, I was like, oh, none of this is gonna get answered. I'm overthinking this entire show. The show is just kind of like it's a cute little time. It's really not deep. It's not talking about anything in specific. It's just like, hey, here's some BL tropes. You like BL? Here's some BL tropes.
Yeah, this is a 1-volume manga.
Oh yeah. Like they were like, we'll have a season 2. And I'm like, so what's season 2? Like, do they break out of the world of BL? Do other people know? Like, do we just get to see his relationship develop? Does he deal with internalized homophobia at all? Like, what's going to happen in season 2? Or is it just going to be like, again, just kind of nothing, and it's just BL tropes, and him and Kikuchi get into like some stupid argument that's very stupid, and they argue and are broken up for an episode and then get back together by the end.
Yeah. Another thing that I thought was really funny is the way that they discussed more taboo or scandalous BLs. Like they talked about the BLs that end with both people coming unalive.
Mm-hmm.
And then they talked about incest BL in a very tongue-in-cheek, funny way.
Oh my God, the scene in the bathroom. I was like, oh, please let this not be the way the show ends.
That was a funny moment though, because he's like, look at you, you're so skinny. And he's like, we're not in that kind of BL, right? So that was funny. The scene in the sauna, I was unprepared for.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, butts? Because this is a very cutesy BL, so I did not expect to see any butt cracks, but there is a segment in, I want to say episode 2, where he's in a sauna and it's like all these like super hot young guys with like towels wrapped around their waist. And then as they leave the sauna, he's in a locker room with a bunch of half naked guys just holding towels over their junk, full butt cheeks out. And so I'm just like, okay, is this the spicy BLs we're going to start talking about soon?
Right?
But they didn't go there. Not that I would have been
let's get to fucking.
Because there is that segment of BLs as well, which I wonder if that's them toying with us, be like, we know what kind of thing you think is going to happen here, but it's not. You're nasty. So that was fun. I think my favorite of the tropes that they talked about in this show was the trope of the super handsome guy who's annoyed by girls. I don't know why, but that's one of my favorite tropes. And I don't get it because as a woman, I have nothing against other women, but for some reason, that one always makes me smile. Like,
Yeah.
oh, these girls are so annoying. You want to get out of here and go watch a movie? Like, I don't know why. That just makes me laugh.
Right.
But that was one. Let's see. What was the other trope? The bad boy who runs into somebody in the street and all of a sudden is like, why is my heart beating?
That was good. This one has so many good bits. I love the bit where they ask the loner, they're like, hey, you want to get drinks? And he's like, no. And then he walks away and he like swoops his hair and the narration's like, oh, of course you're fucking hot.
Secret hot guy.
Yeah. And then they just smash cut to them all at drinking. And he's like, you just came anyways. What the heck?
And then like the paper thin excuse for getting together where they're standing outside of a love motel and it's raining and he's like, oh, look at those two people going to that love motel. I wonder what they're going to do. And the director's like, we should go and rest. You're right. We should. What? No kind of negotiation, like no hint of any attraction prior to that moment. Just like, yeah, we should go into that love motel and do it.
The trope, he took him home. They're gonna fuck.
Yeah, like in his world, rain only means one thing: either sorrow or you're gonna get lucky.
Right.
Yeah. Another moment that I was like super uncomfortable, and not like uncomfortable, like I felt like it shouldn't have been in the thing, but like I was just thinking, if this was me, I would have screamed out loud. So the main character is friends with like 3 guys, and then like this 4th guy ends up coming into the thing. And so he's at a dinner and all of his friends are coupled up. And so he's drinking because he knows like he's not going to get hit on because his friends are coupled up. And he goes to spend the night and both sets of his friends are fucking around him. And I'm just like, if it was me, I would have hollered, what the fuck are you doing? I'm still in the room. I'm awake. He
just goes, I'm gonna do this. And it's like, that's not the response. That's not the response, sir. Sir, please get out.
It was on both sides. Like, I don't know how he could stand it. So he has the one friend who's like, don't worry, he's asleep. And he's watching them do that. Then he turns around and his other friends are like, let's go one more time. Everyone's asleep. And it's like, do y'all not even hear each other fucking around?
Right? How did that even happen?
Yeah. So again, this show just has so many little bitty moments. They talked about like the love triangle and then in turn the love square.
Yeah.
Because the little brother the blonde guy has a crush on the little brother. Another guy has a crush on the little brother. And then another guy has a crush on the guy who has a crush on the little brother.
Right?
Yeah, which again, it's just like they don't delve too far into it, but it's just mostly like calling out these unrealistic tropes. But that was really funny too, because like Mob, the main character, is like on the other side of the window, like, oh my God, my little brother is caught in a love square. So yeah, this show was it was just comedic. It was just funny. It wasn't anything serious. There was no overlying big message. It was just like a laugh. And sometimes you just fucking need a laugh. So a lot of funny moments in this show. The only thing that I think I really disliked about this show is when the main character finally comes around, it felt very like, I don't know, it almost felt like we lost.
I wish they took more time with it because like it gets to a point where he's like speaking and then his inner monologue is like, why did I say that?
Yeah.
And you're like,
and he wasn't he wasn't like that before. Like it just felt like his personality changed very, very quickly.
Right?
Yeah.
I guess that's in line with everyone else in the show who was like dating a girl and then like has a meet cute with a boy and immediately starts. So like their internal monologues also like that?
I don't know. And that's a question too. Like if we were to go deeper than what we got out of this show and we were to ask the real questions, how many people in this world know that they're in a BL? How many people in this world are able to manipulate their storyline for their particular BL? Or is it one of those things where like you were saying, manifest destiny, it's just going to happen.
Right. I would love to see like a season 2 where someone's like, okay, I'm in the world of BL. How can I make the meet cute happen with the right guy?
Yeah.
Like, could you be like, oh, I think, you know, Steve from Calculus is like real hot. How do I get a meet cute with him? You know?
Yeah. So I could see that. Or like if you know you're in a world of BL, but you know you're on the wrong side of the love triangle, trying to like figure out how to swing it in your direction.
That'd be so interesting. Being like, I'm on a losing side of this love triangle. I would watch that show. I would really watch that
Yes,
show.
it should be a show called like Second Lead's Revenge, where somebody knows they're the second lead and they spend the whole show trying to figure out how to become the main character.
I love that.
Yeah. That's a free idea if somebody wants to make that into a show. You don't have to pay us, just, you know.
No, they should pay us. They should pay you. Get the coin.
Well, they can pay me if they want to, but honestly, if you just do it good enough, I'm fine with that. Like if the people who produced I Told Sunset About You want to use this as an idea for a series, you ain't got to pay me. Just don't make me pay to watch it.
You're like $20 an episode? Not me.
No. If I don't have to bootleg it and you want to use the idea, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, there were just like a lot of little bitty golden gems here that I really enjoyed. And it was just a fun, light watch. And especially if you are new to Japanese style of boys love, I think this is a great place to dip your toe in. I think honestly, the best place to dip your toe in is still Cherry Magic. Like Cherry Magic has got it all. Cherry Magic is practically perfect. But this show is pretty good too. Also, like this show has something that I really enjoyed, and it was so low key that I don't think other people will notice it. The costuming in the show was perfection.
It was very nice. Everyone looked good.
Yeah, everyone looked good, but more than like everyone looking good, the clothes were so perfect because they were the kind of clothes that I could see somebody drawing in a manga. Like the main character has a uniform. Even though it changed color, he always wore a hoodie with baggy pants and a jacket. And so I thought it was really clever how they made it very much people looked like anime characters without people like having like Naruto wigs on.
You really could pinpoint people's like personality and tropes based on their clothing at times.
Yeah, so I thought that was like really well done because it was very realistic, real world looking clothes, but it was also obvious that that was a character design costume. So like the younger brother, we never saw him out of his school uniform until the bathroom scene, but that doesn't really count. So we never saw the younger brother out of the school uniform. We never saw his love interest out of his school uniform. We always saw the main character with his hoodie and his baggy pants. So kind of like how, you know, Marvel and that kind of thing where like people have a hero costume, these characters had character costumes, which I thought was really fun.
Right.
Yeah, so a good show. I think that people would enjoy it. But yeah, just quick word.
Oh, sorry, I interrupted you. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I also thought I had a cute opening song. The whole time I was watching it, though, I was like, wow, Dynamite really made its rounds.
Yes, it's a very disco kind of look, and it's like da 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 da. Boy is love. That was very cute. It was really nice. But yeah, the main character, the actor who played the main character did a really good job. The only thing I would critique on him is that he looks way too old to be a college student. Like he looked 30.
How old is he? Do you know?
27.
Oh, okay. I thought his boyfriend was like really cute. And when he was like, I don't want him to be my boyfriend, I was like, well, he can be mine.
I'm so glad you said that because Instagrams of the day. So there were so many cute boys to choose from. I had such a hard time. Like there was a guy who came to like the boy girl meetup who was super duper hot.
He was hot.
The guy who came in with the turtleneck and the button-up shirt over the turtleneck.
I remember watching it being like, he's just he has bad hair. I don't know if I like him. He's not that cute.
I thought he was fine. I thought that the guy, Ryoto, the one who was like skinny and the guy gave him the bento box full of meat.
I like the one who gave him the bento box more than I like the one who received the bento box.
Yeah, so there were lots of cute guys here. Whatever your preference is, whether you're me or Mason, there was a cute guy for you to look at here.
True.
So that was another thing that this show gets high marks on. A lot of good looking dudes here, and not like plastic surgery monster style good looking dudes either, because sometimes it's a lot. Okay, so I have 3 Instagrams of the day for you guys. I have the main character, I have the little brother of the main character, and I have the love interest of the main character. So first, I'm going to give you the Instagram of the main character. It's really, really long. It's Atsuhiro period Inukai _official. So that's ATSUHIRO period INUKAI _official, and that's OFFICIAL. So that's the Instagram of the main character. He's got 280,000 followers. So you should know whether or not you got him or not, because like he's got a ton of followers. And then his love interest, his Instagram is Asahi _Ito _official. So it's ASAHI _ITO _official, OFFICIAL, which
so cute.
We didn't talk about this at all, but the love interest for the main character looks like no guy I've ever seen in BL.
I like that. It was cute.
Yeah.
Very
I didn't think it was. Go ahead.
Long face, big ears, but like good angles to his face.
Yeah. Like I've never seen any guy who looks like him, and I'm like, bravo for like picking some different styles of faces.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I thought he was really good too.
Yeah, I think that in the moments that he was acting, he played like scared baby Burr very well.
Yes.
But then when he finally realized he was like getting a chance to talk to the guy he liked, he had kind of like a quiet confidence that was very appealing.
Yeah, I liked him a lot.
And then the last one I have for you guys is the brother of the main character, who was also in Cherry Magic. He played the delivery guy / breakdancer in Cherry Magic. And his Instagram is that's 3 A's, OE _ I think it's just 1 _. I'm pretty sure it's just 1 _. And he's got like 302,000 followers, so he should be easy for you to find. And he's got an interesting thread. If you run through his feed, he's got an interesting feed. Not that there's anything bad or anything like weird going on. It's very much like a feed full of selfies and like promotional photos, like standard fare. But he has a lot of photos of him dressed as a girl that are like very well done. Like they're not corny or like him making fun of girls. It's very much like very beautiful skincare and makeup and like really nice cute wigs. There's one picture of him in particular where he's wearing an all pink outfit, and I was like, okay, who's this girl? But it's him.
Yeah, I wonder if he's a drag queen or
I mean, I don't know.
I know there's something in Japan called okama. I only know of it from One Piece, and honestly, even reading One Piece, one of my main complaints is I'm like, I don't know if this is homophobic. So I would say you'd have to do your own research on that. I can't, I honestly, I'd be speaking out of my ass if I said more.
Yeah, so but it's a very gender fluid feed that he's got going on.
Yeah, I'm vibing with it. He's like, I'm a femboy, and that's that. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, so like when people say, oh, you're so pretty, you're almost as pretty as a girl, he's like, bet, got you.
Yeah. He threw on a wig and was like, me? A feather boa, maybe? Ugh.
Are you saying delicate? Are you saying fragile?
I don't know if you're on gay TikTok, but you know that TikTok where it's like that TikTok sound where it's like, hey, girly girl, feminine, cunt. Like, do you know that TikTok sound?
To me. Oh, that's funny.
Speaking of TikTok sounds, this entire show was that TikTok sound of something LGBT just happened to me.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't have a manga of the week. Honestly, I haven't bought or read anything new. I don't think there's a whole lot coming out that I've been interested in, unfortunately.
that's fine. You know, sometimes it's seasons. There's not really much that I have to talk about. I don't really have a rant. I just kind of want to give you guys some updates on what's going on in the BL world. Not big updates, like itty bitty tiny ones. Bad Buddy, which is the series that has Pawat in it, is currently airing on GMM TV, and I have been watching it as it is airing. So it's 3 episodes deep now, and it's precious. It's precious.
Oh, good. I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Yeah, it reminds me of old GMM TV. Like after watching
Okay.
Sodas, I was like, oh, I miss the old days of GMM TV. This is very much that, where it's like just bumbling. If you'd be honest with each other and have the conversation, you guys could be happy well before you get to episode 9 or 10.
Right.
Yeah, and also the actor they paired him with is an actor named Nanan, and he's good too. He was the lead actor in The Gifted, which was a big series for GMM TV, and he can actually act. Like he can use his facial features to portray emotions, subtle and big.
That's sometimes asking a lot of boys love actors.
Especially GMM TV, like this is like the Oscars of GMM TV. So I'm enjoying that one. There are some more series coming down the pipe. We just got the trailer for The Baker Boys, which is a
We're definitely
remake.
doing Baker Boys.
We will be reviewing that. So Singtel is in that one. And it is a remake of the manga Antique Bakery, which we reviewed a live action version of Antique Bakery, which was called Antique, which was a Korean movie that came out in 2008, I believe. So yeah, really looking forward to that one. Plus Singto has another movie or series that's coming out called Paint Me, which will be interesting because again, Singto's busy boy. So those are some of the things that are coming up in BL. I think Ken Porsche is finally finalizing their lineup. Like they had a big shakeup where they lost a bunch of actors, but I think they're redoing things for that. So that's something that's coming down the pipe as well. So yeah, there's a lot of hopefully good BL coming up soon. We still haven't heard anything about some of our personal faves that we're expecting to see stuff come through, but there was a new trailer, I think, for Between Us, which is the second part of Until We Meet Again. So hopefully that means we're actually in production.
I didn't know there was a new trailer. I will be watching it immediately.
Yeah, so that is coming, and we're very excited because Until We Meet Again was one of the shows that we really enjoyed. The secondary couple was one of the couples we really enjoyed, and Between Us is supposed to be their love story. So high hopes all around that actually sees the light of day. It probably, I honestly, and this could be said for anything, if not for COVID. There are so many things that
oh my God.
Hasn't been able to happen.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? It glitched. I will edit this.
No, it's okay. I was just saying because of COVID, just a lot of stuff wasn't able to happen. So, it was hard to do production because of the rules of being on set and not wanting to transmit anything. And so you couldn't have like big crowd scenes. You couldn't have scenes with like more than a couple of people. And honestly, the boys loves that have come out in the middle of COVID have been super hit or miss because of how small the casts have had to be kept.
Right.
So
Yeah, we've had some bad ones. I still can't believe Pearl Next Door was as bad as it was. That was a girl's love, but ugh.
Yeah, okay. Let's talk about that real quick. There is supposed to be another Girls Love coming up fairly soon in Thailand. I don't know much about it, but I did see some other people talking about it, so I'm excited for that.
Mm-hmm.
But Girls Love, I want to talk about why it is that we don't talk about Girls Love a lot on this channel, and what it is I think is the thing that keeps people from really checking for Girls Love. And I think the thing that keeps people from really checking for Girls Love is the fact that Boys Love, again, like we mentioned earlier,
Mm-hmm.
is really a lot of times crafted for the straight girl audience.
Yeah.
And there's not a big straight girl audience for girl love.
Right.
And because that audience is so narrow, there aren't a lot of people financing these shows.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've really been thinking, like, what could somebody do to give a higher profile to Yuri? What could we do to make GL a thing? And I think the only way that we can really get the buy-in for GL is if you do something like Pearl Next Door, where you either create a character that people are so interested in they would follow to Girls Love,
Right.
or you create a secondary couple that people are so connected to that they would want to see more.
They should do what they're doing with Between Us, but like for for the next for a different boys love. Like the secondary couple is like hinted at, and then you do the spin-off show like they're doing for Between Us and Until We Meet Again.
Yeah, because I think that there is an audience for it. I know that a lot of the commentary community for BL, that's English speaking commentary, a lot of it is gay men, a lot of it is straight women, but there's also a subset in there of queer women who love to watch and review BL. And I think that they would definitely be word of mouth if there was a substantial and, I would
Right.
say, invested girl couple in these BLs.
Right. And I feel like even when I do hear of like a popular girls love thing, like the last popular girls love manga that I can think of is called Citrus, and that entire thing is very for the straight male gaze.
Yeah.
Like two stepsisters, it's very uncomfortable. It's very like, oh, did a man write this? Maybe a man didn't, but it felt very much for the male gaze.
Yeah,
So
and I think that GL is really easy to do because I feel like GL in a lot of ways can be done the same way that BL is done. Okay, I'll pick a popular BL trope and I'll tell you how to do it, girls love.
enemies to lovers.
Okay, you have two girls competing to be head cheerleader. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just putting it Western, even though they don't have cheerleaders in Asia, competing to be head cheerleader. And so their coach says the way that you're going to win is that if you get the most votes from the people on the team for whatever little project we have. And so each girl is trying to get as many team members on their side to make them head cheerleader. But then they realize that there's a third kind of dark horse in the background who's trying to fuck it up for the both of them. And they're like, I don't care if I get head cheerleader or if you get head cheerleader, but it can't be that bitch over there. So all of a
Mm-hmm.
sudden, they have to work together to make sure it's got to be one of them. It can't be her because they know she's actually like fucking evil. And in trying to come across with schemes and plots to keep homegirl from getting head cheerleader, they start to become closer. And when they're becoming closer, they start to be like, there's something special there.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, love ensues. That's what happens in BLs. It could happen with a girl's love. And I think people would buy that. I think
For
also,
sure.
not for nothing, girls kind of want another girl villain to like root against. And so throw in a third like bitch girl, and I think that you can get the buy-in from the straights.
Yeah. Also, gays love a bitch girl.
Yes.
Think Mean Girls, but like if Janice and Katie got together.
Yeah. I think that's the way to do it. I think
The
that's the way
story we want.
Yeah, like a really super good girl and like a super quirky girl, and then like joining forces to go against the big bad.
Oh, I'd watch the shit out of that show.
Yeah. So
Okay.
with that being said, I think there is absolutely a way to make this happen, but I think until kind of the straight male gaze is off of GL and you start kind of considering the audience that watches BL and court that story towards them a little bit, that's when it's going to become more popular. Because like the main thing about Pearl Next Door, which didn't work for a lot of people who watch BL, number one, that was the payout on that love triangle was stupid and shitty. Number one. Number two, I'm just saying, like, she didn't end up with either one of them. So that was stupid and shitty.
They gave us both bad options. It's like, well, this person sucks and this person sucks. And it's like, well, shit, I guess I don't want her to be with any of them.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, they made a really big mistake very early on by making the one girl tell the other, "You're not gay enough for me to consider you to be my girlfriend." That was an unforgivable mistake in terms of the storyline. But then the other girl, they made her like a super toxic, kind of manipulative, love them and then leave them, like I get disinterested once you like me back type of character, and also like super hyper possessive. And like they made it to where you couldn't root for her either.
Right. And Adriana So deserved better. Her character is great in Game Boys. She's a good actress, very beautiful.
She deserved better.
Should have been.
She deserved better. And I think that they were under the impression that they could just throw out any kind of thing and people would dig it. And they didn't realize that, like, especially with women, well, at least I feel with the women that I know, and not every woman, just the women I know, women who are like me, we tend to internalize storylines like this for us. And early on in Pearl Next Door, I knew I was not going to be happy if Pearl got with either one of these women because I internalized their flaws so deeply.
Right.
And I think that is something you have to consider when we're talking about girls' love, is that women really are going to look at these and like, what if this was me? And I don't necessarily think as many straight women look at BL that way. Because if Tharn Type was two girls, it would be unwatchable.
I guess so. I don't know. Well, I guess I'm on the other end where I'm like, I'm a boy and they are two boys, but I still watch it. It is
think about the Tharn Type world, but make Long a girl, make Tharn a girl, make Type a girl.
Oh, unwatchable, yeah.
Yeah, it would be unwatchable.
I'm pretty much just there for the gays. Honestly, I don't understand how you, me, and Aggie all really love season 1 of Tharn Type. Like, on paper, it's the worst fucking thing we've ever seen. Truly.
It's fucking awful, but it's like a soap opera. You watch because you're like, oh, you can't be that villainous, can you?
Right.
So, yeah.
But on the other end, I think that it is interesting because I think one of my complaints with like Western media currently is people are always like, people won't let gay and queer characters be fallible. And I think it is interesting that every single person in Tharn Type is deeply problematic. These are not good people. They are all bad people in some way.
There's only one good person, and that good person is been drug into shit and gang raped for being good.
Right. So, but that is interesting. Like, it's interesting when characters are very fallible, but it does go to like the very opposite. It goes to the total extreme end.
Yeah. So
there's a lot to discuss with Tharn Type. Maybe that's why it's good. It's because it's a conversation piece for us. Like, we're still fucking talking about it.
Yeah. So if somebody would make Mean Girls but lesbian, there's your GL. There's your GL. Make it happen. But yeah, Tharn Type, if Tharn Type was women and one woman raped another woman in the shower and was hovering over her while she was sleeping, and then you found out that her ex-girlfriend got gang raped because her best friend set her up to be raped by a bunch of people, like no one would give a penny to make that show happen.
Isn't there that, like, it reminds me of that 90s, I think it's a 90s movie, Single White Female?
She
just like is stalking her and becomes her.
Yes, but the thing is, there's no romance between the two women
Mhm.
that ever develops. Like the one is like madly in love with the other girl's like, I'm straight as hell and you're creeping me out.
Right. I've never
So
seen
that's what I'm saying. If you add like girls falling in love to single white female, Glad would be calling.
The
The
president of
lesbians don't
GLAAD
play
just
those
like
kinds of
flies onto.
games.
Sorry, what?
Lesbians don't play those kinds of games.
No, they would
Yeah.
not allow.
So yeah, you could not make a female Tharn-type, but I think you could make a female Until We Meet Again. That could absolutely happen.
Oh, for sure. I'd watch again. I'd watch that.
Yeah, opening with the suicide scene. Sorry, opening with the unalive scene. Trigger warning. And then
We already said the R word, so
sorry, but yeah, so many problems. God, why is it that when we talk about boys love, it's always some traumatic bullshit?
I honestly, I'm at this point like tempted to just like make like a little title card that's like trigger warning for these things and just put it in front of all of our videos.
Like a Raycon company?
Huh?
Like a Raycon company?
It's coming back full circle.
Oh man. So yeah, I thought I'd mention that because I feel like people were like, well, why don't you try to do more GL stuff? And I mean, we have done. We did Pearl Next Door. We also did The Handmaiden.
Yeah, that's a good movie.
Yeah, I guess you could consider that GL, but there's just not the volume, number one, and number two. They just haven't perfected the storylines.
Right.
Yeah, and I think like the closest we've come to kind of GL being adjacent to BL is Diary of Tootsies.
Yeah. And then even if you think of like I'm trying to think of like, oh, what was a good GL? And I'm like, oh, Killing Eve was kind of gay. And then they came out and they were like, yeah, it's not gay at all. We don't know what you guys are thinking. And it's like, well, thanks for queer baiting us for 2 seasons. And then everyone stopped watching it. So, well, got what they deserve for there.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm just trying to think like what would be, you know what? You know what is lesbian or GL that we should review for this channel? That show that you like, that anime, the Tuesdays. What's it called?
Carol and Tuesday?
Yeah.
They're not gay though.
What?
They're not gay. I will review it with you because I absolutely love that show, but they're not gay.
Ah, never mind.
I mean, I love it. There's lesbians in the show. They're like named lesbian characters in the show, but they're not lesbians, unfortunately.
I really thought that the leads were lesbians.
No, but that would be great, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
They just make really good music, passionately. We could do an episode where we just like do a queer reading of Carol and Tuesday.
we should just go into it being like willfully obtuse. So this is the story about two.
Listen, that one actually might be a really good one because for me it has terrific animation. There's a lot of very interesting animation history about it. Shiichiro Watanabe is the director, and he is the director of Cowboy Bebop, which we're about to get a live action version of. And the music is honestly really good. I think you would actually really like some of the songs in there. And they're all in English. So, I mean, you listen to K-pop, so I guess never mind. It doesn't have to be.
Yeah. So how many episodes are we talking here? Because depending on how long it is, I'm down. Also, weren't we going to do Skate?
Oh, we could do Skate the Infinity. We have so many options. We have a couple options, but next time we talk, we are doing Madonna best of album. So
celebration.
Yes, we're doing it'll be under a new moniker. It won't be under Busy Thinking About Boys Love, but the next time you see us on this channel will be a music review. And after that, I think we've agreed on do the movie, but honestly, I'm kind of into this Carol and Tuesday and or Skate the Infinity thing. So
I think we should do Carol and Tuesday, and I think we should do it Carol and Tuesday, a queer reading.
I think it's 24 episodes, and it's on Netflix.
24-hour episodes or 24?
They're like 20-minute episodes, I believe.
Okay, I could probably do that and get a head start on that. But yeah, we should do it just be willfully obtuse and be like, it's about these two bitches who really love each other. They lick clit all day long and they make music on the side.
The first song they write together is a sad lesbian song called The Loneliest Girl, okay? Can you feel my tears? They won't dry. Like, come on, these lyrics, this is sad lesbian music.
Somebody on TikTok did a queer cover of Fall Out Boys, the song Sugar We're Going Down Swinging. But they did like a sad lesbian cover of it. It was hilarious.
Oh my god. Oh my god. We could do an episode on the queer reading of Taylor Swift lyrics.
When we get to the one where you force me to listen to Taylor Swift's greatest hits, because I would never force you. That will be the day when what little fan base we have will decide to abandon us wholesale, because I just can't. And it is a flaw. It is a flaw in me as a woman who supports other women that I just can't get with Taylor Swift.
That's fine. You don't have to go with every pop star.
No. I mean, I feel like Taylor Swift is important. I really, really do. Also, I feel like you've been listening to Taylor Swift the whole time, so you don't need to listen to her greatest hits. But like, I think that, again, tangent, Bill. I think when everything happened with Kanye West being an asshole and then her kind of like using that to portray herself as this like innocent girl who the music industry is being mean to, I got a kind of bad taste in my mouth for that. But then when all of her albums started being promoted with the idea that Taylor's going to spill the tea on her last relationship, that really gave me a sour taste in my mouth, because the one thing that a lot of people didn't really talk about is like, that's ugly no matter who you are. Like, it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, to be writing songs about a relationship that maybe the other person never disclosed to anybody else, like the ins and outs of, and presenting this kind of one-sided view of something that was very two-sided, I just find to be super duper ugly. Like, the only person who's ever done something like that I was like, you know what, I can get behind this, was Beyonce's Lemonade, because she was still married to her husband. And I'm certain she told him before she came out with it, I'm like, I'm about to tell everybody about how you did me wrong, and you're going to sit here and you're going to eat it. Mm-hmm. He's like, yes, ma'am. But like, Ed Sheeran did that song about when he used to date Ellie Goulding, and it was like an asshole song. And I'm like, who's comfortable with this? Why is this song playing on the radio? And I'm always super uncomfortable with that style of music.
I guess we should maybe take this off camera, because I guess we've been going a while, but I do have questions about this, because like, what about Adele? She's talking about she's giving her one-sided view of her love in every album. I guess because he's not a celebrity that it doesn't feel as invasive. And it's like, he in some ways becomes a little famous because you'd be like, oh, that's Adele's ex-husband, but like, I don't know her ex-husband's name or even what he looks like.
Also, Adele's ex-husband got paid many, many millions of dollars to allow Adele to talk about him.
That's true. He got a huge payout from that divorce. Holy shit. Yeah.
So he can shut up. He can shut the hell up.
Yeah. You're like, you ain't ruining my November 19th.
Hell no. There was some girl on TikTok who went to the Target and they already had the LPs out for Adele's album.
Yeah, but you can't buy them. There'd be an error code if you tried to check it out. Yeah,
I would have stole it. Fuck buying it. I would have found a way to stuff it in between my legs and walk out of the store with it.
Just run.
Yeah, pretty much. You're never gonna catch me. I'll never shop at this Target again.
You're like, leave me alone to cry.
It was worth it.
Just go easy on me.
So we say to the judge, please go easy on me.
Go easy on me, baby. I was still a child. Didn't get the chance to.
Ma'am, you're 42.
Make Stevie do it.
Yeah. You're still a minor. You have a clean record. It'll be okay. We'll do it clean. Get it expunged. But yeah,
listen to Adele.
I would been so tempted. And if I worked at that Target, fuck that. I would steal it and quit.
Oh, you get sued up the wazoo. I remember when I worked at Barnes & Noble and we got like a week before the Cursed Child, the Harry Potter book play thing came out, they literally like called everyone in like the week before and they were like, the books are here. We have counted them. If a single one goes missing, you're in deep shit. And I was like, whoa. Also, like, I'm not risking my employment for fucking J.K. Rowling.
I'm also confused about that because didn't the play come out before the book came out, or am I remembering that wrong?
It was the script for the play.
Yeah. So I thought that the script for the play had already come out, so people knew what the story was before the book came out.
No. The book is just the script. It's the publicized version of the script, I believe.
I understand that, and I'm agreeing with that. What I'm saying is, it's not like if you were to reveal that, people are like, oh my God, we didn't know how this story was going to end. It's like,
but they didn't. It wasn't out yet. I don't think the play had started running.
That's what I was asking. I was thinking that the play came out before the book. That's why I'm like, it really wouldn't be a spoiler because people have already watched the play, but that's where I was confused.
I'm not sure. I'll have to look that up. You know what? Honestly, J.K. Rowling can eat my ass. I don't want to give her my time of day anymore.
Yes, and fuck Dave Chappelle. There's a really good discussion about the Dave Chappelle special on the channel FD Signifier. Here on YouTube, and he does a video called Goat or Turf, and it examines Dave Chappelle's discussion from his comedy episode or comedy special, The Closer, and why it is that the logic doesn't hold up, and just it pokes a lot of holes into what he's saying and a lot of his defenses. So if you are interested in hearing more about that, I highly recommend the video. I thought it was a really good watch. And I think that particular YouTuber is also a very he's somebody who works to consistently educate himself. And so I've really enjoyed watching his content. For instance, he did a video series about Kanye West and how Kanye West has changed and what it's like kind of watching him deteriorate. And he made mention of Kanye West's wife's family. And he played a clip from the original intro to Keeping Up with the Kardashians. And he made sure to blur out Caitlyn Jenner's dead name, which it was a small segment. It wasn't like the main thrust of what they were talking about, but it was still just a really nice gesture to be like, even though we're talking about one person, that doesn't mean we're going to disrespect this other person who a lot of us don't even really like.
Right. Another good one to go watch if you're interested in the Dave Chappelle thing is Bob, the Drag Queen and Peppermint did a great Insta Live. Was it an Insta Live? It's on their YouTube channel. Where they talk and where they also go through it. And I always think that they're just so insightful.
I did watch that one while I was cleaning up Stephanie's room. I watched that one. I was like, oh yeah, this is really good. And it's nice to hear from the communities that are affected, which that is the thing. If you watch FD Signifier, he's not a member of the community that is affected. However, he does a really good job of inviting trans women to actually use their voices to discuss their thoughts, their feelings, their interpretation. So he has whole segments where they're literally talking and saying, but this is how this affects us, instead of him talking and saying, this is how he is affecting them.
That's nice. Yeah. And if you want to know why J.K. Rowling's turfism sucks, ContraPoints put out a whole video on it, and it's very good. Whether you like ContraPoints or not, she made some good points.
Yes. Even a broken clock is right twice a day.
All right. Well, I think that's it for us today. Thank you all for watching on this very interesting episode. And we hope to see you soon. Bye.